Hi there, Vibe Gardeners. In this episode of Vibe Gardening Inform Edition, we're going to go over how I'm going to build myself a raised bed DIY to prepare for next season. Not quite this season, but prepare for it. With that said, let's go. If everyone remembers this right here is my eggplant garden from this year, and here's my herb and berry garden. There will be some changes coming up for next season as I'm going to have to do some crop rotation and planning for next year. But for sure, what I want to do is I want to make another raised bed right here, shorter than this one to give myself room to put the marigold pot here without obstructing my path to go along this raised bed. And this is going to serve as my in-ground vining plants, where I'll be having potentially pumpkins, squash, and stuff like that coming from it, flooding into this dead dirt spot, where I'm going to be able to use some of the root puncturing if possible, or get some of the biomass going in here to make it into a more workable soil. And I'm going to deliberately make it short. Like this raised bed here is about 18 inches tall. I'm going to make the new bed at most about approximately about a foot tall at 12 inches. And I'm going to go into how I'm going to build it. It's only going to go about 4 feet. It's about 6 feet. So it's going to go from here to about here. So it's only going to come here, about 2 foot away from this raised bed, to have a clear path to go along the way. And the raised bed itself is going to be 2 foot wide to give a nice little geometrical design. So yeah, that's how I'm going to design this bed this year. So another extremely important consideration for making a raised bed, besides the location and height and everything, is really about the type of wood you choose. So right here, as you can see, I'm 6 foot tall. These are 6 foot cedar planks, actually deck planks. And the reason why I'm choosing this is cedar is natural mold, mildew resistant, and they're also naturally herbicide and insecticide. So what this does is that it means it's basically kind of like a deck board without all the chemical that goes into treated pine or whatever softwood that they use for the deck boards. And that's why I choose these. So therefore, I don't introduce chemicals into my really harmful chemicals into my garden. And so I'm going to use this. And so there's 4 boards here because I only need about 2 boards high. I'm going to be able to cut about 2 foot out, leaving it only about 4 foot on the long side and making it 2 foot wide. And also along the side here, I also have this, um, this I think it's fencing post. I'm not 100% sure, but it's a 2x2 cedar stick, and this is going to help me basically shore up the edges of the bed to give it a more structural support. Now, technically, from what I've seen other gardeners do, I don't think I technically need it, but I think it's definitely going to help the structure of having it stay together longer for many more years. So here we are. We have set up the setup right now to be able to cut the wood. And what we need here is I have a miter saw here, or compound miter saw as I call it, be able to cut downwards in a straight line. And we'll also have a power drill that will be able to help us screwing the pieces together. We have right here, I have a 2-inch exterior wood screw, which will be perfect for our use case here because the deck board is not very thick. I mean, thick enough for raised bed, but it is what it is. And make sure you have your measuring tools. So you got your tape measure. I have a speed square to help me make sure that I'm cutting a straight line, and of course a contractor pencil, because it handles drops better than your typical pencil, and it marks a larger and bolder line than your typical number 2 pencil. So that's why generally these things exist and they're very good for use. And most importantly, but not least, of personal protective gears, equipment as we call them. So you got your earmuffs because this thing is refurbished industrial miter saw coming from I got from Amazon. They get loud. And then you also want to protect your eyes, which is the most important thing because these things fly. And you want to make sure you're protecting your eyes. And always, I cannot stress enough, protect yourself when you're doing these things because these things are powerful. They go down fast, and next thing you know, you can be without a limb. Always make sure you can do this again by protecting yourself. And if you're indoors and there's not a lot of circulation, you want to be wearing yourself a respirator to make sure that you're not breathing in those dust that may cause cancer later on if you do this too often. So as hobbyists, to make sure you protect yourself. So, well, here we go. So first we're going to measure 2 foot from the end. I use my speed square to make sure it is straight line coming down. And the thing about this is that you'll hear many people who has done woodwork say this many times. It's not about getting it perfectly to a certain measurement. It's about the fact that you can repeat the same cut, the same length, over and over again, perfectly. And there's a lot of GX people built out there to make sure you can make your cuts repeatable. Because at the end of the day, even if you're off, no one's going to know but you. But if you don't have a repeatable cut from corner to corner, it's not even going to come together. So that's why it's important for you to have repeatable cuts. So we'll show you that once I make this cut. So there you have it. This is the 2 foot piece I measured out. And the way to make sure that it's going to be repeatable is actually quite simple. All you need to do is grab your next piece, put it down, and then what you want to do is you want to make sure the edge, further edge of it, is matched up flush against this new piece, and then just cut right down where it started from. And the best thing you can do is you keep using the first one as your basis, because as you go on, there is a possibility you're introducing more error to what's going on. So for you to stay true to the first piece is going to be key for you to be able to have less error as you go on. And that's going to buy you a lot of beauty as you go on. So there you have it. We have all the long pieces cut, the shorter pieces, and the post here. This is actually turned out it was 42 inches long from the tip here. And so I basically cut everything to be about 10.5 inches long, which is totally fine. It's going to be a little shorter, as you can see. It's going to be shorter than the full height of it. But what we need to do is be able to secure 2 segments to be able to get it tight. And that's all we need. So yeah, and, so here we are. And this is now a perfect same length, because we got all these board pre-cut. And the nominal cut means that there's going to be some variance between each cut. And that's totally fine. Like I said, for a raised bed, you just have to make sure you're lining up the right place and then form a true square, which obviously with this quick square, it'll give us a very fast way of measuring. But it's not that critical like building a furniture or a house. So, but this will do for us. So as you can see right here, we got 2 of the shorter sides up against each other, and it is lined up. And I have one of the corner 2x2s lined up flush against it. And this is going to make basically a side of it, and then I'm going to have another one on this side. What I'm going to do is I'm going to screw in the 2 ends here, same one on this side, flip it over, and then screw in the middle too right here. And that way what happens is that you're going to have the reinforcement on both sides, making it as stable as possible. Here we go. We're going to countersink a little bit. Now that with this side screwed in, now we can turn and flip over. And we're going to screw it right on the inside of it. And there you have it. Now this is one side of it. You can see it is screwed in the middle here, back there. So now that we're done with screwing together the 2 edges of it, so what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing, putting the 2 long pieces flush against each other like this, lined up on one side. So then we're going to basically take the short side, the one that we just put together with the corner screwed in. And now what we can do is we can just do the same thing And what we're going to do is, because already the screw is coming here already from the inside here, what we're going to do is we can basically use a little bit more on the outside. We're going to screw it in on the outside like that, and then on the outside of it we can screw it in again like we did before. So that's how we're going to do now. So as you can see here, this side has a really interesting thing here. I have an empty hole here, and the two screws are here. And the reason I had to make that adjustment was after I drilled in, I realized that there was a knot in this piece, this deckwood right here, and that would create a huge problem for drilling, for screwing. That compensate and move it further outside the knot. Because this is the inside of the raised bed, it is a lot less of a problem to have this here. So that's why I was able to make this adjustment. So this side have basically a 2-for-1 trick here, in that I haven't tied down this side of the deck yet, but then I'm able to lay it down on the second half of the longer side and be able to screw that in as well. So with that said, here we go. So here we are. This raised bed is now built with the technique I said, and it feels pretty stable. The next step I need to do is when, as you can see, it's already getting dark now. I'm going to need to level the ground here, and then I'll take advantage of following this technique that Ashley from Gardening Canvas video showed. I'm going to start putting in green and brown compost in here. Little, basically compost over winter. It's going to be ready in the spring. So yeah, in this fishing, I hope I gave you some good ideas on how to build a sturdy, nice raised bed for a garden. And with that said, let's keep gardening and keep vibing. Let's go.